Hey guys, my name's Rich. In this video I'm going to give you 5 simple steps to a better Act 2. These 5 steps are really simple to follow, and what they will do is make your Act 2 do what it is supposed to do. That is, drive your cue forward and get everyone, including you, excited about the movie. The first step is to embrace pulses. Pulses are your friend, and I don't mean lentils. Pulses as in repeated notes of a repeated pattern. So bum 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 bum, or whatever phrase you care to say your pulses in. These are such a simple and fantastic way to get your cue driving forward. And the great thing about pulses is you can change up the intervals, I mean rhythmic intervals, so 16th note, 8th note, 4th quarter notes, etc. It doesn't have to be always 8th notes all the way through, although that incessant pulse is actually really powerful for something else. But this, when we're thinking about our Act 2, bang, 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 bringing in this pulse underneath is so powerful, because then what you can do is double time, dung, 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 and immediately your track has just gone up a gear, and you haven't done anything else except for double the amount of notes, and then you can do it again, dun 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 dun, and this is such an easy step to follow to mean that your Act 2 has this constant sense of growth and build and pace. It can be a kind of pedal tone type bass where it just stays on the root note, or it can follow your bass line. As long as you embrace the pulse in your Act 2, it's a really simple step to give your track drive. Step 2. Move your patterns. Now, what I mean by this is, say you create a single riff, a single ostinato that you have, say, the second violin's playing, one of my favourites, and that just keeps going throughout the whole of Act 2. An easy win for you to give your track, this Act 2, this sense of build and this sense of excitement and growth, is to move that pattern up. It can be as simple as making it jump up an octave. It can be as simple as switching the inversions. So if your pattern is based around a C minor chord, say G, E flat, C, you can then move it up an inversion to C, G, E flat, and then move it up an inversion to E flat, C, G, and then move it up. And this, although you're not writing any new material, this kind of constant growth of your ostinato, of your pattern, this constant movement in the pattern, gives your Act 2 an easy sense of growth and building, which is just what Act 2 is supposed to do. Build, build, build. And supply that with your pulses and you're onto a hammering winner. Step 3. Bring out the brass. By that, I don't actually just mean brass. I actually mean strings and synths as well. What I mean is bring out a sense of scale. Don't be afraid to bring out big sounding brass, big sounding synths in Act 2, because what you do there when you bring this sort of these sweeping brass chords, these kind of swelling synths, you give the track a new sense of scale. It steps up, and that's what you need to do in Act 2 from Act 1. You need to go, hey, we've upped the ante both in the story and in the music. And you'll hear this all the time, that the brass will be brought in Act 2. Not necessarily sort of in your face horn lines, but the low brass sort of swelling and gritting, and sometimes you're bringing some Brahms there to give this Act 2 a new sense of weight and a new sense of scale. Step number 4. Break the pattern. When you set up a pulse, or when you set up a riff or an ostinato of a repeated pattern, a repeated rhythmic pattern, or repeated grouping of notes, you set up an expectationer in the listener. They go, okay, wait a second, so this is a 4-note arpeggio. I know what's going to happen. It's going to keep doing this. It might even move up, it might even move down, I don't know, but it's going to keep doing this. If you break the pattern, you grab their attention and you set up a new sense of pace. Philip Glass does this all the time, switching from a 4 pattern to a 3 to a 2. This breaking up of a pattern not only grabs their attention, but it kind of gives this sense of either acceleration or a stumbling. So if you go from a 4-note grouping to a 3-note to a 2-note, it gives this sense of acceleration. If you go from a 4 to a 5 to a 6, it gives this sense of kind of like stumbling or expanding, and it's such a fantastic little trick. This Ghostbusters trailer uses it beautifully in the end of their second act, and I just think it's so simple, because all of these steps are simple. They are not complicated harmonies, they are not anything beyond thinking in terms of rhythm and pattern, basically. Which moves me on to the 5th step. So you've got your pulse, you've got your pattern moving up, you've got the brass, the strings and the synths coming in, and you've started to break up the pattern at the end of your second act. Now, this last step is build until it hurts. It's one of those things where when you're doing a build in your track, you think to yourself, yeah, I've built this enough, it's fine. It's not fine, and it's not enough. It needs to keep building until it's almost painful. Because what you're doing is you're building the tension along with the edit, along with the story. And by keeping on building, whether that is holding the last chord for a little bit too long, or whether that's adding more and more and more and more rises before the drop at the end of Act 2, whatever it is, you need to build it more than you think you do. It's kind of like one of those things in trailer music. I've never been told that my track built too much, and I've never been told my Act 3 is too big. So those two things, that's a bit of an Act 3 tip, warning, sneak peek. You just can't build enough, basically. So embrace your pulses, utilize pattern movement, bring out the brass earlier than you think. Not full on, but enough. Don't be afraid to break the rhythmic pattern that you've set up, and then keep building until it feels like it can't get any bigger or more painful. That sounded horrible. Anyway, those are my 5 simple steps to a better Act 2. If you want to know my 7 rules for an amazing Act 1, you can see the video here. I hope you found these helpful. Thank you for listening. You're an absolute legend. I'll see you in the next video.